Good evening. I call to order this Board of Education meeting. Today is Monday, February the 24th. Special welcome to those joining us here in the auditorium as well as those watching live stream. Warm welcome to ABSS staff, students, and family, community members, Commissioner Thompson, Commissioner Priola, our friends from the media. Dr. Fleming is not with us in person tonight. He is on the phone with us. He is sick, and we wish him a speedy recovery. And we're glad that he's able to join us remotely. And Mr. Marsh is not with us this evening. At this time, board members, if you'll join me for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Those that are able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board members, you've had an opportunity to approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Thank you, Mr. Engel. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 6-0. You've had an opportunity to review the minutes that were presented. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Second.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 6-0. There are two items on our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 6-0. Really quickly for Board of Education business, just wanted to remind the public, there is a public budget hearing that will begin at 6 p.m. next month at our evening meeting, followed by our business meeting. And then I do have an announcement from the board this evening that we were made aware of a little bit ago. I'm going to read a resignation from board member Chuck Marsh. Dear ABSS board chair, fellow board members, and our amazing community. As each of you know, I've had some health issues which have kept me from giving 100%, and that's not fair to the ABSS staff, my fellow board members, and those who voted for me. My health seems to be on the mend, but my duties and responsibilities to my 4 businesses have doubled, requiring more of my time and energy. I've come to realize that I am a better service to our community behind a radio microphone. With that said, it's with a heavy heart that I tender my resignation from the ABSS Board of Education. My resignation is effective immediately. I've enjoyed advocating for ABSS and staff and students, and I've loved working with the board and the prior board as well. Thank you, and God bless each of you. So, board members, we will be extending a very special thank you to Mr. Marsh for his service, and if it's the pleasure of the board, perhaps we'll put this on our agenda for the work session to talk about next steps. Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell, is that?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. We will move into recognitions, and I will welcome our Public Information Officer, Ms. Emily Lynn Atkins, and Dr. Parker to the podium.
Good evening, board members. I am so excited tonight. We're going to be recognizing some excellence in arts, athletics, and education. First up, I'm sorry, I feel like this is a little far away. First up, we have Ava Garner from Southeast Alamance High School. You'll come and join us. Ava and her schoolmate Jesus Cruz were both Silver Key 2025 Scholastic Arts Awards winners. Ava, this is for you. And I'm going to show her artwork so everyone can see it. Wow. I know, right? All right, if you'll stand back right here so everybody can see you. Ava's piece, Connected Creation, is part of her sustained investigation into the human race and our place in the universe. The Scholastic Art and Writing Awards have been around since 1923, and this prestigious competition has recognized some of the nation's most celebrated artists and writers during their teenage years, including Stephen King, Amanda Gorman, and Andy Warhol. So now Ava and her schoolmate Jesus joined this esteemed group of Scholastic Awards alumni. So congratulations, Ava. Oh, don't go away yet.
Take it. So definitely none of this was done with generative AI or anything like that. No, it's a joke. It's a joke. Is there anyone here with you, your parents, mentors? Great. If they would stand up, and you're welcome to come up and have a picture taken as well.
Ava also has her art teacher, Miss Lampson, here.
Fantastic.
And her principal, Mr. Yarbrough, is here.
Great. So
And this is for Jesus.
This won't be quite as impressive as that.
would you like to stand?
Miss Lampson, would you like to
hold Jesus?
Sure.
And would you like to say anything, or is that? It is okay if not.
Don't pressure, Miss Lampson.
Okay, absolutely. Okay. Well, here you have to take the microphone a second. There we go.
I'm sorry to do this to you, Ava. Ava's an incredible student. She has very supportive parents, which make it a lot easier, I think, for her to put the time and effort into her work that she wants to. But the dedication that she puts into her work really shows. When I try to tell kids that the time that they spend on their work and where it can take them, it's not just a talent. It is hard work and dedication, and she helps me prove that to students every day.
Great job, Ava.
Great. Thank you very much, and in return, thanks, Ava. Well earned.
And I do want to show, Jesus could not be here today, but I do want to show his artwork as well. Epsom is the name of his artwork. It explores the idea of people as shadowy figures, comparing them to bugs under an upturned rock. So you can just see the amount of talent that's coming out of Southeast Alliance Arts. So, wonderful. Well done. All right. Next, we have Madison Upton from Southern Alamance High School. Madison, come on down. Coach Wells, you can come on down too. So Madison is a Southern Alamance freshman who proved to be a fierce competitor at her first NC High School Athletic Association 3A state competition appearance. Madison won the 200 IM, setting a lifetime best of a little over 2 minutes and 8 seconds. And I believe she was 2 seconds ahead of second place, which is in swimming a pretty big deal. And she was it was quite the championship debut for you, Madison. And that wasn't it, because she also won her second individual win with the 100 butterfly. So she is doing really great things, not just on her own right, but also representing ABSS athletics, swimming as a wonderful sport, and introducing that sport to folks across the county. So congratulations, Madison.
Congratulations. I don't know if you or Coach wants to say anything. I think you have to now that you're down here.
I just was very fortunate to be able to watch this young lady swim throughout the season. She is the first swimming champion from Southern Alamance, and we look forward to 3 more years of this. Okay.
And Madison has family here, and her principal is also here. Would y'all like to come up? Come on, fam.
So, okay.
We know this doesn't happen on its own. You have to get her to practices and all of those fun things. Madison, what time do you go to practice in the morning?
5:30.
5:30, yep.
Hard work pays off.
That's right.
Want to slide in there real quick?
So
Okay, thanks.
congratulations.
Yep. Recognize you one more time.
All right, you good?
Yep.
And our last, for our last recognition, I'm going to introduce Dr. Brock Womble with NCAT. He's the executive director, and he is going to take it from there.
Thank you, and good evening, members of the Alamance Burlington School System Board of Education. Would Deanna Tyson and Miss Judy Phillips please come forward at this time? Judy Phillips is a Board of Director for the Development Foundation of NCAT and former Assistant Superintendent for the Alamance County School System. I would also like to recognize Dr. Aaron Fleming, Superintendent of the Alamance Burlington School System and Board of Trustee for NCAT. Dr. Fleming and Ms. Phillips have greatly influenced and contributed to the success of NCAT over the last 12 or more years. I guess you've been on there for a while. And I would like to personally thank both of them for their work. On behalf of the North Carolina Center for the Advancement of Teaching, it is my privilege to announce that Deanna Tyson has been selected as a finalist for the NCAT 2025 Burroughs Welcome Fund North Carolina Beginning Teacher of the Year Award. This recognition highlights Ms. Tyson's exceptional contributions to the teaching profession and her remarkable impact on the students and community here in the Alamance Burlington schools. The Beginning Teacher of the Year Award was established to celebrate the creativity, resilience, and dedication of first-year teachers across North Carolina. Each year, more than 7,000 new educators enter classrooms statewide, and this award honors those who exemplify the best of the profession while addressing the unique challenges of beginning teachers. Deanna Tyson will be attending a week of professional development with her fellow finalists in March. On March 27th, NCAT will celebrate all finalists at a recognition event on the campus of the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. At NCAT, we are committed to advancing teaching as an art and a profession, and we are thrilled to celebrate Ms. Tyson as a shining example of this mission. Please join me in congratulating Deanna Tyson on this outstanding achievement. We are pleased to provide you with a certificate recognizing you as the NCAT 2025 Burroughs Welcome Fund North Carolina Beginning Teacher of the Year finalist. In addition, we invite Tammy Uzel to come on behalf of Empower to present Deanna Tyson with a check for $250. Empower supports North Carolina educators in their retirement investment plans. I am thankful for Empower's support of education in North Carolina. Thank you for being, thank you very much, and thank you for being here tonight to celebrate the outstanding educator, Ms. Tyson. And we appreciate the Alamance Burlington School System for recognizing Deanna Tyson with the NCAT Beginning Teacher of the Year Award. Thank you.
Fantastic.
We do want to get a couple of pictures, and Ms. Tyson's principal's here, Mr. Acom, and Bambi Evans, who works with our beginning teachers, is also here. So just want to say thank you to them for their support of Ms. Tyson.
Dr. Hummel loves pictures. Thank you so much.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Board members, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great,
We're good.
and thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And as we wrap up recognitions, I think there was somebody that thought they might slide under the radar and not be recognized. I would like to invite Todd Fitch to come forward. Or you can stand where you are. You just won't be on camera. But this is Todd's last. If you wonder how these meetings, these three gentlemen back here are really they make us happen at least twice a month at our meetings and do so much behind the scenes. And Mr. Fitch has 33 years, I think, and he is retiring. Friday is his last day, and 27 of those years has been with ABSS. So we did not want you to go unrecognized. So thank you for your service to ABSS. All righty, we will now move into public comments, and I believe tonight we have 8 speakers. I will take just a really quick opportunity to briefly review our board policy, section 2310, titled Public Participation at Board Meetings. The full policy can be found online at the ABSS website. Individuals may speak for up to 3 minutes. The timer will chime after exactly 3 minutes, and we do ask that you plan accordingly and respect any additional directions given. Profanity, making threats, or revealing confidential student or personnel information will not be allowed. To our speakers, we ask that you make sure to address the members of the board with your comments and not the audience. To our board members, please remember we do not respond to speakers except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. Of course, you can respond as you see fit at your superintendent board comments at the end of our meeting. And then to our members of the audience, we do ask that you refrain from clapping, snapping, or vocalizing at any time during the public comments. As I mentioned, we have 8 speakers. And when your name is called, we ask that you make your way to the podium and state your full name before beginning your comments. And our first speaker is Commissioner Pam Thompson.
Hey, everybody. All positive, but as a former educator and stuff, I'm going to talk about some things. I was the community educator for many years at Family Abuse Services. All of the prevention programs for the grades 3, 8, and 9 were facilitated by me and my teams. I was at the Family Justice Center earlier today helping a victim of domestic violence. While I was there, I asked if Family Abuse Services was in the schools doing the puppets for the 3rd grade, and I got a no. This puppet program has happened in ABSS for many, many years, as well as in charter and public schools and private. Out of respect, I'm not going to mention names of elementary schools that many disclosures of abuse were reported thanks to the puppet show. We must have these prevention programs in our schools to keep our children safe. When I was on this board and during COVID, I wanted kids back in school ASAP. I knew that children were home, locked in with their abusers 24/7. When returning back to school and reporting to the teachers, counselors, and social workers, those that they trust, DSS abuse reports tripled. I know this because I was on the DSS board of directors. Teachers are the eyes and ears for their kids. I read the other day that school assaults in ABSS has decreased, I'm thankful, but drugs has increased 46%. I serve on the Governor's Crime Commission, and a while back we represented about crime in North Carolina. Low-level crime has decreased. However, murder and rape has increased. I would like to encourage you as a board to allow the drug dogs in your schools more than once to sweep for this dope. I would also encourage Dr. Fleming to be the only one who knows. Approving this ahead of time prevents your young dealers from being alerted. Sorry to say that, but it's true. If you really want better test scores and you really want better behavior, if you really want better, you're going to get rid of the drugs in our schools. This has been a long-time problem, and it's everywhere. It's not just here, it's everywhere. This is real preventive leadership. With the fentanyl, black tar heroin, meth, vaping, and weed, you cannot be afraid of offending the students or their parents. I would rather a mom get a little pissed if their kid is caught with drugs than for them to bury them. Problems can be solved if you face them. I work with addiction, and I have lost too many folks to overdose deaths. Our children have got to be protected, even if we protect them from themselves. I love you guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Our next speaker is Robert Alvis.
Good evening, board members. So I'm Robert Alvis, a teacher at Williams High School and president of the Alamance-Burlington Association of Educators. I want to say welcome to Mr. Widener and Ms. Harvey. It's good to see you there. I'm here to speak to you tonight on the proposed ABSS budget. I realize that your budget hearing isn't until next month. You'll see me again then as well, but in my opinion, it's never too early to start. I want to say that I applaud the budget that was proposed by Dr. Fleming. I'm encouraged that we have a superintendent who's willing to ask for what our schools need. And I will say that everything in the budget seems like a need from my perspective as a school teacher, especially with regards to asking the local funding to cover positions that we lost last year from the reduction in force. We definitely feel that wholeheartedly in our schools right now, from the loss in administrative positions like assistant principals to the loss of arts positions and the loss of MTSS coordinators that all provided vital positions and services that our students need. So I'm encouraged to see that in the proposed budget. I'm hoping that the board will approve those measures and ask the commissioners to fill the gap in terms of what our schools need here in Alamance County, because we have many needs that are unmet. And I'll also add as well that in addition to what I see there, one thing that I would like to see in the budget before it's finally approved is a greater prioritization of our classified staff. If you've been on the board for some time, you've heard me come up and speak on this every year. And every year it seems as if our classified staff are forgotten in the yearly budget for ABSS. Even last year, you may remember that I was encouraged by the bonuses intended by Dr. Butler when he went before the county commission. And those bonuses that he proposed in the budget never came through. The money for that never happened. And our classified staff were once again left out of last year's budget. And I see that to some extent in this year's budget as well. One thing that I see as a teacher looking at this budget is that we not only catch up the certified staff supplement to what was lost last year, but also reinstate the supplement that was intended for this year as well. So we essentially raise the supplement for certified staff twice over. And one question I have for the board, and I asked this to Dr. Fleming directly as well, is what would happen if we decided to share that supplement between the certified and the classified staff? What would happen if we spread that raise with our classified staff as well instead of intending it solely for the certified staff? And I say that as a classroom teacher whose job would be easier if my kids were able to get to school on time because we had fully staffed bus drivers, whose job would be easier if our school had a secretary, which it currently doesn't. You all have Kelly Caviness, and she's a wonderful addition to the central office staff, but since she's left our school at Williams, we haven't been able to fill it, in part because of the lack of competitive pay for our school secretaries. So my job depends on the classified staff, and I would like to see them receive a greater priority and a greater emphasis in the year's budget upcoming for ABSS. So thank you for your time and your consideration, and I wish you a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Alvis. Our next speaker is Lilith Stewart.
Hello, board members. As you all know, my name is Lil Stewart, a Alamance Virtual School Dragon. I wanted to be here tonight to hear the first of many budget discussions for the upcoming school year. It is a very important time of the year for ABSS. I encourage you all to pay close attention to every thought and opinion while looking at the facts. Make decisions that keep us moving in the right direction to be the best district in North Carolina. Please continue to keep every student and staff member in a safe, comfortable learning environment. Remember to put us first. I also wanted to bring to your attention some things I found out recently. Did you know there are parents and families that do not know about ABSS has an offer for virtual? How is that even possible? When talking to people about ABS, they get really excited and want to hear more about the school and what it has to offer. I always take the time to tell them as much as I can. Our parents are wonderful and support the school as much as possible. They give out a lot of information about all the opportunities the virtual school has to offer. I have one more thing to ask. Can you help with promoting and highlighting our wonderful virtual school? We all know you stand behind ABS. Let's work together and make it grow even more than it has already. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Our fourth speaker is Al Seagraves.
Good evening. My name is Al Seagraves. I provided the board this past Saturday. There was a football coaches clinic held out at Eastern Alamance. And, you know, when people come into our community and look at our schools, the first impression they're going to get is a visual impression. And that's the first thing I saw. To be honest, I walked up the sidewalk, I looked, paint peeling off. I'm talking about the front entrance to the building. Unacceptable. I'm sorry. Got a 28% property tax increase this year. The taxpayers of Alamance County deserve more, and we expect more. I understand, there's budget concerns and what have you, but we've got to do better than this. I've been an administrator, an educator for 45 years, and when I came across things like that, I always ask myself, if this is something that I can see, what's going on that I can't see? Like the inside of the building, or maybe learning that's taking place. Which leads me into the second thing. I provided you with this, the Alamance school system. What I did was I took the research that I compiled and put it on one sheet of paper for you. When people, in order for our school system to grow and prosper and our community to grow and prosper, first thing people look at is, what is the health system in a community? What is the school system in a community? The visual appearance, and our millennials and the people, the young people today, they go on and do this research. They want to know what the healthcare system is in this county. They want to know what the ratings and rankings of this county is. It is all right there before you. I'm going to run down there real quick because I got a minute. We currently rank 174 out of 272 school districts. That's the bottom 29% in North Carolina. If you look at Turntine Middle School, it's ranked 534 out of 712. That's the bottom 25% in North Carolina. When you look at the North Carolina DPI, ABSS school ratings, or rapid fire through them, Cummings D, Eastern C, Graham C, Southeast C, Southern C, Western B, Williams C, Broadview D, Graham F, Hallfield C, Southern D, Turrentine D, Western C, Woodlawn D. C is average. C is mediocre at best, okay? Take a look at it. Other things that people, when they move in our community, are going to look at is grade school ratings. It's a rating of 1 to 10. They rate every public school across the country. There they are, Cummings, 3 out of 10, Eastern, 510.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Seagraves.
You can
Thank
read
you.
the rest of that. I appreciate it. Also, the information.
Thank you, Mr. Seagraves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our fifth speaker is Ms. Medora Burke-Skoll.
Good evening, Board. I come to you tonight as Vice President of the Alamance Burlington Association of Educators, and I'm here tonight having looked through the budget, the proposed budget, to speak on behalf of our classified staff. We are struggling in the schools right now with a lack of classified staff. I understand that, we had to make a lot of cuts and a lot of sacrifices and move folks around last year because of the budget. But I just want to highlight some of the positions that are not filled, that are difficult to, for the rest of us to do our jobs. So I teach biology, and that's a state tested subject. And our state test scores are what goes into the accountability models that give those schools those grades. So I take my ability to reach all of my students pretty seriously. When I can't have my students show up to my class until 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the class because they're consistently on second, third loads getting picked up in the morning, it's the same 5, 6, 7 kids every single day in my first period biology class that are arriving after instruction is well underway, and they're missing content every single day because there's not, in a state tested class with a giant set of standards, there's not a moment where I'm not utilizing the class period that I have available to me, and those kids are missing. And these are kids, some of them have 504 plans or IEPs, they have federally protected learning needs, and they're not getting to school because we have so many bus driver openings. So I was talking to bus drivers and I was looking into it. We're 27% below the national average, according to Indeed, in ABSS in terms of what we pay our school bus drivers, and that lots of counties nearby have an average starting salary of $20 an hour. Our neighboring counties start there. There were 50 classified openings on the ABSS website as of today, and I think that those positions aren't getting filled because we are not paying them competitively. I know that Dr. Fleming wants to do a salary study. I also know that those take time. The last salary study was done in ABSS in 2019, and not all of the findings from that study were implemented, but we did find that we were underpaying many of our classified staff, and we continue to lag behind because as soon as we implemented some of the changes from that salary study, we're behind again. These classified staff, they keep our buildings safe, they provide healthy meals, they get our students to school where the learning can happen, they greet our students at the front office, except maybe at Williams, and the guidance office. Many of our counties are paying a supplement to their classified staff. Winston-Salem, Forsyth, Chatham, Mount Airy, Mooresville, Chapel Hill, Carrboro, Wake, Durham. I know they do bonuses in Chatham County. I just urge you to think about that portion of our staff.
Thank you. Our sixth speaker is Beverly Orwig.
My name is Beverly. My name is Beverly Orwig. Many of you know I'm a retired teacher, and I happen to be a grandparent and an advocate for 3 boys that our church sponsored as a refugee family. And I will say I am the schools that I see almost every day in the car line. I thank you. Western Middle School roof going up. Graham High School roof going up. So thank you so much. And I also want to say that, in my opinion, my granddaughter and the boys that I work with are receiving a solid education. I am really impressed with Graham High School, and I think that maybe sometimes the stereotypes get in the way. So thank you for all that you've done to just bring us up, especially after such a tough year last year. But today, I'm reaching out today to express my concern for LGBTQ+ students at ABSS. As you know, the Trump administration ordered the Department of Education to rescind all LGBTQ+ guidance documents. These documents were intended to provide understanding and protection for some of our most vulnerable students. Losing this support at the federal level increases the isolation, discrimination, and danger for our students. As a Christian, I am called to love my neighbors. I ask the school board to emphasize the importance of anti-bullying and anti-discrimination measures for our LGBTQ+ students. All students deserve to be safe in our schools, regardless of who they love and how they identify. And being a teacher at Turrentine for 10 years, when a student needed to go see a guidance counselor, I didn't ask why. And I know that they were helped, and I know that they were understood. And I just pray that that will be able to continue no matter what the problem or concern of a student. Thank you for your efforts and for care for all of our students.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ernestine Lewis Ward.
Good evening. Oh, I gotta put my glasses on. I'm speaking to Dr. Fleming and the board members. My name is Ernestine Lewis Ward, a concerned citizen of Burleson, North Carolina, 27215. I'm past president of the NAACP. Membership Committee Chairperson of the Alamance NAACP Branch 538. I am not representing the NAACP tonight. I'm speaking as a concerned citizen. And my reason for coming before you tonight is to let you know there is unfair suspension practices going on in the school system. I think the system is doing what it knows to do. However, I am aware of a problem with suspension policies. I experienced discrimination with my grandson when he was in the school system in Burlington. The problem was resolved because I knew what to do. Some parents do not know what to do and who to talk to. The data on ABSS shows there is a problem with unfair suspension of Afro-American students. My concern is the unfair treatment of students. And I have here, and I printed out, I haven't had time to go through, but if anybody knows, they can be, I'm sure the board knows about it. I have copies, I printed out, I haven't had time to go through to analyze it, but I did notice that the Afro-American male students were the highest suspension students in these different schools. So I am asking you to consider and put that on your agenda, because I am going to have this investigated and help with the problem. Because some of these children don't have nobody to speak for them. As we know, all parents aren't good parents. And they have come to me, and I'm working with 2 families now. And the problem is not really the child's problem, especially when they have fights. If someone else started to fight, and both are suspended from school, if the Afro-American parent does not know about the rule that they can go to Ray Street and be not on that record, they won't be absent. They don't know what to do, and most of them don't know because they don't read these policies. That, you know. And I am going to work with them, and especially if a child is assaulted, and I'm working with the child that the Afro-American child was assaulted by the white child. And they said, I met with the parents and the principal and the teacher. They said that the child had a problem at home, but that has no excuse for grabbing a child in his collar. If that had been an Afro-American child driving a child in the collar, you know, we know what would happen because I've seen it. So I'm asking you, just consider, because I'm going to work with this. This is my goal. God has given me this spirit to do this. So I'm going to work with this, and something's going to have to change the policy.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Siobhan Vai.
Okay, this is for the superintendent and school board members. I am Siobhan Vai, and I am an ABSS teacher, and I speak towards the 10-month employees, specifically on the topic of inclement weather policy for staff. Over the past few years, we've noticed that there hasn't been a clear, consistent policy in place. Every time the district closes due to weather, there seems to be uncertainty, confusion about what is expected from staff. For example, the past year, we were initially told that we couldn't work from home and we needed to make up time, only to later to be informed that an additional day would be added to the end of the year. It also was stated that classified 10.5, 11, and 12-month employees can make up their time with their supervisors, while 10-month employees were not given that option and were not told the day they would be tacked on at the end of the year with the option to either work or take leave. This approach does not seem equitable or consistent. If we're going to provide options for staff to make up time, whether remotely or through extended hours, it should be applied fairly across the employee groups. No one should be singled out, and if there's a day off due to weather, we should have the option to work remotely or extended time. Just like our colleagues in other categories, establishing clear and equitable guidelines is essential to ensure that no staff members feels excluded or confused. Additionally, when the makeup day for the inclement weather results in a loss of a workday, it would make sense to count that canceled day as a workday for the staff. This was essentially to be a swap of days. Teacher workdays are vital for all grade levels and much needed throughout the school year. Tacking on extended days at the end of the year doesn't seem to address the challenges that the staff faces, especially since there are so many important tasks that cannot be fully completed during irregular student days. Teacher workdays are necessary to ensure that everything gets done. Having a clear and transparent policy would ensure that all employees know what to expect, how to prepare when inclement weather occurs. This would also prevent the need for consistent decision-making every time a weather event happens, reducing stress for everyone. I understand the challenges not being able to conduct remote learning, but allowing employees to work remotely if they choose would have been a helpful option in many of these situations. Ultimately, it should have been up to the individuals to decide if they wanted to work or take leave. By clarifying these expectations and providing consistency, we prevent confusion and ensure that the staff feel supported. I truly believe that establishing a concrete and fair policy for inclement weather days would lead to greater transparency, reduce unnecessary stress, and ensure fairness for all staff members. I appreciate your time and consideration for this request. I would look forward to more inclusive, consistent, and effective policy moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Danae Myers. Danae Myers.
Thank you for seeing me at this last moment. Just got off from work trying to get here. My issue is my daughter's safety at Eastern Alamance. She's been attacked literally 3 times since she started 9th grade there. She's in her 10th grade year. She has an IEP in place, and the principal and assistant principal are aware of this situation. She was attacked physically by 3 or 4 other girls on December 5th. She was assaulted. There is videotape of them dragging my daughter. She suffered like bruises and things of that nature. And as a result, she was suspended because she went 3 different times with another student to the office to speak to the principal and the staff, and she was told to ignore it and that they could do nothing because there were just verbal antagonistic remarks towards my daughter and this other individual. Later that day, when these 3 or 4 girls approached my daughter with an entourage of students already videotaping, those other students knew what they were going to do. They planned it. My daughter had her backpack on, and the principal of the school said the reason she's being suspended is because she didn't turn and walk away while these other kids attacked her. What was she supposed to do? She had already gone 3 times earlier that day, the same day, and was turned away with no help. This past Friday, these same individuals are still back in school, most of them, and they're still at her. They're bumping her in the lunch line. They're pushing her, following her to the bathroom, saying all kind of derogatory things and antagonizing and intimidating her. My daughter suffers from anxiety at this point. She doesn't want to go to school, but what choice does she have? She just feels helpless. She went directly to the principal on Friday. What did the principal say?
That I didn't get jumped, and that's not what she would call it, and that I should just ignore it and knock it off.
That's what the principal said. This is what my daughter is dealing with at Eastern Alamance High School. Where should she go? What do we do? I apologize for taking your time, but I've gone direct, and I had a conversation with them today. They said, well, we don't mean to make excuses. However, we just heard about this now. The principal didn't tell us that this is and I'm speaking to the assistant principal at the time. They didn't tell her and communicate. So my daughter's been still suffering all day while she's trying to go to school, them at her, antagonizing. How is she supposed to get education and be able to focus? What should I do as a parent? I'm here because I need help. I'm not getting help at the school.
Thank you for being here. We'll make sure that someone gets in touch with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That concludes our public comment portion of our meeting. Thank you to all that came out and spoke this evening. At this point, Dr. Fleming, do you want me to turn the floor over to Mr. Messer?
Yeah, I'll open it up, and then I will yield my time here to Mr. Messer. And I apologize for being a little under the weather, so I can't talk too much, but I can at least get us kicked off here. Last time we met, we did go over the current expense expansion needs. I believe Mr. Messer may have a handout, or it may actually be on the screen there, which focused around the classified benefits and salary increases. It circled around the supplement increase for certified staff, operating expenses, and returning our certified staff that was previously cut. I believe you heard this earlier, but last week I did meet with ABAE, had a wonderful conversation with them, and certainly appreciate the support that they have given us with all of this. But one of the things that they did mention is looking at some form of classified supplement for our classified staff. And you do see that in various forms in different counties. Some none, and some have a rather a very good supplement for classified staff. But I wanted to take a moment to gauge the board's interest. If we were to move forward with requesting a classified supplement, what the cost of that would be, the board's feelings in adding that in. We did come in with a band for these supplements that made it a little easier to calculate. We wouldn't have to necessarily go with these bands, but I'd really like to hear the board's thoughts and opinions on it, and so I'll hand it over to Mr. Messer.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you, Superintendent. Just to go back over some of the budget needs that were discussed at the previous meeting. Of course, I want to reiterate the employee benefit cost increases is an estimate at this time because we really don't know what kind of wage increases are going to be approved at the state level, or what kind of increase in our retirement benefit costs is going to be as well. But I know that the majority of the surrounding districts are budgeting about a $300 per employee increase in medical expense. So right now it's currently $8,095 per employee. So somewhere around $8,400 is what we anticipate the cost per employee to be next year. I'll stop there and answer any questions about that. As we get further along into the budget season, we should get more information coming out of Raleigh, but if this is not your first rodeo, you know we may not get a budget out of Raleigh, or it may be in the fall before we get a budget. So here we are left trying to predict and do an educated guess as far as estimating what kind of wage increases that are going to be out there.
Yes, Mr. Engel.
Mr. Messer, as far as our funding from the state, aren't we in the low 80s percentile? When there's 115 counties, we're in the low 80s.
So as of June 30th, 2024, we were 90th in the state, but with the increase received from the county this current fiscal year, anticipate that to go to the mid 80s or to the low 80s then. So that is correct, sir.
And yet we're in the 90 from the state. We're the 14th largest school district in the state. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And you may have said this, the employee benefits piece, that just for clarification, that's a piece we don't control.
That is correct.
Correct, okay.
Yeah, for those employees that are funded locally, that's kind of what you call an unfunded mandate, really. Because if they pass it at the state level for state paid employees, sometimes it's kind of arbitrary if someone's state paid. if you have more teacher assistants than what the state provides, of course, you're going to have some that are paid locally. You're not going to not give them the raise and give the state paid employees a raise. And on to the next bullet item, supplement increase for the current year and next. Now, the current year that we are in, the supplement for certified staff was frozen, so it did not get the usual increase that happens from year to year due to the budget constraints. And basically, this just catches up the supplement for the current year and for next, so it'll be back on schedule as if there wasn't a freeze for this year. And this does include the 2% increase in retirement benefits that we're anticipating on that piece. Operating expenses, workers' comp insurance, property insurance. Everyone knows that the cost of insurance is going up, and right now our workers' comp insurance is really out of whack. We've had some significant losses due to employee injuries that we're trying to mitigate at this moment, but right now that cost is really exorbitant at this time. And if you know anything about workers' comp insurance, you pay for that over like a 3-year period. Property insurance, with all the natural disasters that are happening across the state and the country, property insurance is really taking a hit there. Financial software upgrades, this is just the beginning and planning piece of it. The state of North Carolina is requiring all school districts to go to what they call an ERP system. Some school districts have already done the conversion, some are in the planning. We are just now in the planning part of that, and that will require just a little bit of local funding to do that. Not going is not an option. We have to follow to be able to communicate with the state. Utility cost increases, typically I budget around a 3% increase surrounding this, which is a usual, nothing out of the ordinary. And then a need for contracted services and maintenance and custodial. As some of our legacy employees retire and move on, it's hard to find those employees with those kind of skill sets, so we're having to contract out those services more and more. Certified staff additions, I think you've heard previously from some of the public speakers about positions that were cut for this current school year. And it's just a combination. Anytime that you add an assistant principal, it's around $125,000 per, and that includes the benefits that go along with that, health insurance, retirement, etc. And any kind of instructional support personnel is on average around $100,000 per employee. And I spoke to this at great length at the joint meeting, charter school increase. 11% of the county students attend charter schools, and that comes out of our local appropriation. So that's an increase of $643,500 that would go on top of that, which right now is a $6.4 million, just shy of $6.5 million ask just with those items there. Before I move on to the classified supplement, I'll stop there and answer any of your questions.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Rogers?
Just a couple. Going back to the supplement increase where you're saying catching up the current year. So with that what you're saying is catching up if we wouldn't have done the freeze, what would have been in place then, and then what would be moving forward for the next year.
That's correct.
So what we would have done and then what we would have been doing this upcoming year.
That's correct.
Okay. And then on the piece of the, this is not really more of a question, this is more of a statement around the certified staff additions, because sitting here up on the board last year when we had to go through all of that discussion about those positions, from the APs to the social workers, nurses, I mean, you name it, it was all coming up in that discussion. And so if anybody visits our schools and talk to principals, educators that are in our schools, you can see how the effect of those positions not being in place. I understand why we had to do it at that time, but I wanted to say that to the fact of anyone who comes out and states like, well, another assistant principal is not needed, or we have enough counselors and everything like that. I feel like that some of the times when folks say that, they don't really get to talk to the people who are in the front line that feels that impact daily.
Sure.
From now with who has to take on those extra duties or try to pick up those roles in those spaces and things. And then like stuff like your school social workers, your nurses, your counselors and things, those are also, how I look at them, those are also pieces to your student and teacher safety, because they work in those capacities. They work in making sure that our students are emotionally well, but also they feel those support services. Support services are a big piece to what makes our school function and what allows for a student to feel safe in that school space. So that was more of a statement. And then I guess this might be a question, because I know when we last had this meeting, you were not here, Mr. Messner, because you had to be at the financial officers thing for the state, I think. Is there any, to your knowledge, has there been any discussion at the state level around the charter school funding piece, as far as your local school districts having to request those funds versus the charter schools themselves having to go and do those requests, either at the state level or locally?
So, I think those discussions happened many, many years ago, but basically, and Adam, you might be able to chime in this a little bit, the state just views those as students of Alamance Burlington schools, and the county's going to fund those students regardless of which school they're going to attend. So all the money flows through the public school district, and then the student gets their per pupil share of what the county funds. So, I mean, it's basically, whenever I first became a finance officer, I asked that question over and over. I didn't think it was fair that we went and did all the work and met with the county commissioners and met with the county staff to get funding for our school district, and the charter schools just got a piece of it and never did any of the work related to that.
Thank you, Mr. Messner.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Any other questions from board members at this point?
All right, I will go on to the next slide here, the classified supplement proposal that has been spoke about several times tonight. Basically, what's in front of you is just a 1% increase for every 3 years of service with ABSS, going from 1% all the way up to 10%. Basically, it's just a math calculation, just looking at a number of years of service for our classified staff. And the price tag that goes along with that is $1.2 million plus the charter school share of $132. So you're looking at $1.3 million to implement this type of classified supplement. Now, I will preface this. When you do a percentage-based supplement for any employee, anytime that their pay is raised, this is also going to raise. So it's always going to be a perpetual funding piece of anything that we ask for from year to year. Instead of like some of your districts around that have classified supplements, they have a flat dollar rate supplement that they look at annually and maybe raise a flat dollar amount, maybe biannually or every 3 years look at it, instead of when you have like I said, percentage base, anytime there's a raise at the state level, this is going to cause that to go, and then you're looking at another piece of funding for that.
So I'm looking at this, and I guess I'm mildly confused to the, is there a classified supplement now?
No.
Okay, so there's no, I think there've been, okay. And so this would create a supplement for the district?
That is correct. It will be a brand new supplement for the district.
And ongoing, okay. That, I think I understand that. I was trying to understand how it interacted with other
And this
things.
model was worked with some of the stakeholders within the district that have spoken to you tonight. Mm-hmm. This kind of supplement can take on many different forms. It just depends on what preference the board would like to go in, if it's something that you're going to consider.
And, Mr. Messner, so this cost that's here at the total, then if we went with, this proposal for the supplement, that would get added into that, that 6.4. I mean,
Yeah, so basically you're looking at close to $7.9 million with the two combined. Little over 7.8.
And you said that there's also other models, I guess, or other ways of the supplement. Could you give just an example of what you're meaning with that?
I can tell you a lot about Chatham since that's where I came from. Their classified supplement is a flat rate, and it's in 5-year bands. They go from 0 to 5. I may have the dollar amounts different, but if you have 0 to 5 years with the district, then you start out at $800 to $900 a year, and you go to 10 to 15. I mean, 6 to 10 is like $1,000, and all the way up to 30 plus, it's like $1,600 or $1,700 a year. I can get you a copy of that if you'd like. And that's just a flat rate that helps with budgeting, and that way, you don't really know. Say, for example, when you have a percentage-based supplement, say if we don't get a state budget until October of this year that gives raises, and if you have someone that's got a 10% supplement on top of that, then if we don't ask for enough money, then we got a supplement that's underfunded, and we either have to find money for that or we have to go back to the county in the middle of the year to ask for additional funds. Did I explain that? Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think it would be, well, for me, I would like to also just see that other one, just to see. Because, I do think, like, what some of the speakers spoke on tonight, I think there's something that needs to be done with our classified employees, because they're an absolute necessity in our schools, and they need to know that they're cared for, they're looked at, they're recognized, and of course there's always more to do, just not pay, but I feel like pay is also a part of showing them their importance to you in the district. So
I do have one follow-up question for the board. Do you want me to stay within the same funding amount here to work on a flat rate supplement, or do you just want to look at an example of how one is and bring it to the next meeting?
Yeah, I would like to see what it looks like, when it's the flat rate, as well as what you have right here.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. That would be great.
Are there any other questions? This is really all I have to present as far as the budget discussion goes. I know I will be giving you a full presentation at the work session on March the 11th.
Can you go back to the first handout that you gave us, where you're talking about the operating expenses?
Yes.
That one, for instance, can you break it down to how much of that's utility cost increases, and like can you itemize it in dollar amounts?
Sure. That'll be broken down and given in detail as far as the 3% of what we currently have on the budget as far as utility costs goes. I don't know if I have that number in front of me. Do you know?
I don't necessarily need it now, but I was just like, maybe the next meeting.
Oh, sure. You're going to get an extremely detailed version of.
Oh, well, fabulous. Never mind.
Sure.
Never mind. Never mind. Any other questions for either one of these handouts?
Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, I didn't have another question, but I can say I do like what we're seeing here in these needs and everything, and how and what it's laid out. And like you said, some of the stuff is not really arbitrary. Like you were saying with the employee benefit costs and increases, there's not really too much to do with that. But to see about the catching up on the supplement for our certified staff, also on trying to bring back some of the positions that were lost, now seeing that we can have that opportunity to do that. Because I know that was a big question for me at that time when we had Dr. Harrison. If we do all of this, can this set us back at zero? So then we can try to start to add back some of this stuff because they are needed. So I do appreciate what staff has done with coming forward with this beginning pieces of this budget discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Dr. Parker?
I'm not going to say this correctly the first time, so it may come back in the next meeting or an email, but the thing that I'm thinking about is, and I'm open to talking to stakeholders and changing this later, but if, for instance, we're really short on bus drivers, would it make sense to change making it a little bit different as far as different, kinds of employees, instead of just kind of labeling out the same supplement for everyone? I don't know if we're trying to focus funds to where there are a lot of vacancies. I don't know if that's something that's done in other counties or if it's typically done as a flat rate, but I guess any thoughts from that standpoint?
So I've seen it kind of all over the place. It's really board driven. If the board perceives or wants a higher supplement for bus drivers, and we can definitely develop a supplement for bus drivers as a recruiting tool. Or if you want to do the same supplement across the board for all classified employees, it just really depends on really what the board really wants to do.
Yeah, man, I guess the two things are, yes, we want to bring up, the pay level somewhat across the board, but again, if there are areas that are really hard to fill, it might make sense to target some portion of it, and I guess that's the thing.
Sure.
So maybe I'll think about it and try and develop that a little bit in an email.
Sure. Okay.
One more question on the, this will probably be on your detail for the next meeting, but will it tell us like how many of those are AP positions and what those instructional support positions look like?
Yes, they will. If you remember the budget resolution that I presented back in January.
Yes.
If you look at PRC 05, that is school building administration. So you'll see an increase in school building administration on the local side, and then you'll see the instructional support in PRC 07. And I'll definitely make a point to point those out during the presentation. And also you'll have a little detailed handout or packet that's going to be given to you as well.
Okay. And then one of the speakers mentioned that we have 55 or 50-ish classified openings. Are the majority of those bus drivers, or do we know?
I would have to look.
Okay.
The number of current classified and certified.
Okay.
I have to break it down by categories.
Okay. That might be helpful if we're looking at potentially the high vacancy rates and trying to get creative with supplement.
Sure. And I think at one of the previous board meetings, Ms. Anderson presented a dual role option as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Messer. We look forward to your presentation. Dr. Fleming, did you want to add something?
Well, I want to thank Mr. Messer for that, the hard work he has taken on these since we've changed some things up. I do think once we get the full budget request, including capital, that Mr. Hook did 2 meetings ago, I believe, it'll kind of put some more of this into perspective, and you'll be able to kind of take a look at it all. But again, we're certainly open by phone or email if you can think of things we have not thought of, or as you talk to community members. But we hope to have kind of all this put together for you at the next meeting in March, and then have everything ready for our March public hearing after that.
Thank you, Dr. Fleming. And we look forward to hearing from the community as well at our public budget hearing on March 24th. All right. We will move in. Thank you, Mr. Messer. We will move into our curriculum, and I'm not sure who is leading our calendar. Miss Emily Lynn Atkins for calendar discussion.
Good evening again, board members. Ms. Johnson is out this evening, not feeling well, so I'm going to just do a quick update for you all. There's not a ton of new information. She presented to you all at the work session after getting direction from you that you would like to revisit the 26-27 calendar. So she presented a couple of drafts, one that was an earlier start date, one that was a regulated start date based on the school calendar law. Just wanted to update you all that we have, a survey has gone live today on our website. It will be shared with community members, families, and staff, and they will have an opportunity to give feedback on both of those options, just like we have done in the past, and we will share that data with you at our next work session. And just a reminder, these are the two calendars, and they're also available in the survey for folks to look at. And that's the only update I have. Are there any questions?
The survey that's live, does it say that at present that this is not in compliance with state
Correct.
calendar
It
law?
is very clear. Option 1 is not in compliance with the state law. We made that very clear in the language. And then option 2 is the calendar that is in compliance.
Thank you, Ms. Atkins. Questions for Ms. Atkins? Mr. Engel?
I just have comments. It's going to
Oh,
take
yes,
me a
sir.
while.
Okay.
Thank you. You know, Ms. Atkins mentioned that it is against state law. It is. But let me tell you what's going on in the state right now. There has been 16 bills filed during this session for the early calendar involving 28 districts in the state of North Carolina. In 23-24, there were 28 bills filed. In 2017 and 2018, there were 56 bills filed. Now, I skipped the COVID years. That's because they allowed us to do that. They gave us a choice during the COVID years, and these districts, they liked what they were doing. So it's got to be more so. Now, when I say that, they're usually filed in the State House, where I worked for 4 years. The last bill passed 102-2. I mentioned that at the last meeting. The two that voted against it for down at the coast, which makes sense to me. It goes over to the Senate, and it is placed in the Rules and Operations Committee. Well, you know what it does there, folks? It dies. And it's done that several times because the President Pro Tem won't take it out. He leaves it there. Which to me is is bad for all of us. I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. Now, as we look at that, those 16 bills, let me just give you the counties. Let me tell you the counties that are on those 16 bills, those 28. It's Alamance, Stokes, Winston-Salem, Forsyth, Davison, Hertford, Wilson, Buncombe, and some of them are city schools also. Pitt, there's one bill statewide. That's the one usually gets across. Keep that in mind. Cumberland, Gates, Warren, Weldon, Halifax, Camden, Jackson, Swain, Transylvania, Wake, Wilkes, Alexander, Kannapolis, Orange, Chapel Hill, Carrboro, Caswell, Chatham, Roanoke Rapids, and I think I missed Winston-Salem, Forsyth. So you've got very large counties, and then you've got smaller counties. Folks, they want this, yet when it goes to the Senate, they kill it. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I understand now why when we had our joint meeting, Ms. Thompson, that Senator Galey was so upset. That we ran that we sent out, the questionnaires to the people. But it just makes common sense to me. We sent them out because we want to know what the people want in Alamance County. And they want to see us going to school earlier. I had people all weekend say, get it done. And I said, well, look, you need to be sending your representative in the state, and telling them. So, but let me say this. Representative Rydell has signed on to all but maybe two of these. And he and Representative Ross sponsored the bill for us in the House. So they're on board. The House is on board. But when it gets to the Senate, you can forget it. It's going to rules, and that's where they send the bill to die. I know. I was down there for 4 years, so I know what I'm talking about. Why do we need it? Well, I wrote some things down. I saw some of them on the bills. Number one, it aligns us with our local community colleges and the start date. Think about that, which makes it much easier. Number two, the exams could be taken prior to the Christmas break, which there's much better retention from these students when that happens. Number 3, and this one really, and Coach, this gets back to something you had when you spoke. Public charters have had the opportunity to do this ever since their inception, 20 years ago. They can do it. They are public just like we are, yet they can do it, but we're not allowed to do it. Now you tell me that makes sense. It does not make sense. Number 4, the Leandro ruling. I've heard you talk about it several times, Mr. Rogers. One of the things that was in that Leandro ruling was that non-monetary things could be allowed. One of them, guess what it was? It was our going early, going to school, or setting our own calendar, basically. There's nothing been said that you can't do that. That's right. So I'm not so sure the state's not violating the law. How's that sound?
There you go.
Number 5, it's a challenge for high school students when they graduate early, like they graduate in December. I was in line to get my license, and I saw a young man that I knew that had just graduated in December. I said, "Man, I thought you was in college." He said, "I got to take my last 2 exams before I can go." Think about it, folks. In other words, it's all out of kilter. He couldn't even take his exams. And the last thing is, when we had our joint meeting, Commissioner Priola and Thompson, our senator, she criticized us about the math scores. Remember that? Well, I mentioned the last time about Rockingham County where they went from the long, going the long ways and then starting late or early, and then it increased the math scores. It increased. Give us a chance, folks. Coach, I mentioned you've got on here the charter schools, both of them with B's. Well, give us a chance so we can do it also. That's all I ask for. Give us a chance. If we don't do it, we'll go back to the other. That's right. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to follow up on that one. I will just say to members of the community, if this is important to you, speak up. Speak up, reach out to us, reach out to community leaders, make sure your voice is heard. That's right. If your voice is silent, we don't know it's silent. That's right. So please reach out to us, reach out to community leaders. If this is what you want, we will fight for you. I can promise you that.
Thank you. I'll just add, I talked to the School Boards Association this afternoon, and there's been a little over 22 bills filed in Raleigh, and there are 2 that are statewide.
It's going up.
And 20 of those local bills, or a little more than 20, they represent about 30 school districts across the state total. And 28 districts started this particular school year early, against out of compliance with the current calendar law. So just wanted to share that and let you know that your numbers went up a little bit.
And thank you for that. And I've got one more thing to say. Pop told me that there's more than one way to skin a rabbit. Amen. There is another way, and I know what it is, but Christy, I'm not going to tell you tonight, but I know another way. Thank you.
So, and I'll just add to that, he did say this afternoon that the committees are getting started, and so none of the bills have actually been heard yet, but there is a lot of traction this year in Raleigh, so we're hopeful for good things.
I hope so. It's been 20 years.
Anything else for the calendar topic before we put Mr. Engel over the top?
I'm just kind of going to piggyback a little bit on what Avery said. The surveys are out there. We're not going to know any answers or what to do if you don't fill out the survey. So we really need community members, teachers, parents, guardians to go in there and look at it, look at that calendar, see if it's feasible, see if it's something that's going to work for you and your family, and do the survey. Don't let the survey sit there, okay, because we're not going to know what to do if you do not fill out the survey. So make sure you go in, fill out the survey so that we can get some good answers.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Mr. Rogers?
Yep, and just to state too that, I know there was a lot of people from the last survey that did say that they thought that trying to do it in the next school year was too quick and too fast in some cases. It wasn't going to allow for various things to get into place. So that's why also the board wanted to try to look at the following school year, but then also trying to set a precedent for ourselves to start doing 2-year calendars, hoping that that starts to get people ahead of time from our educators and our parents in the schools, but then also the various summer camp programs and things that come up too, giving them that time. So I think it would be great if, like everyone else said, people fill out the survey, people send in the emails, people let it be heard, because this is something that we're hoping to try to do, put into place to have us a 2-year calendar to continue to press us forward and keep us ahead of times.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rogers. And to kind of echo what Tamika and Avery were saying about the survey, I think the first calendar survey that we did right around November, into November, Christmas break, we had about 1,600 people, give or take, that responded. The second time we did the survey with the actual options, we had a little over 6,600. We have 22,000 students in the school district. So when you multiply that by parents, guardians, family members, and then, you know, on top of that, 180,000 plus community, we need to hear from you so that we know what the community wants. Anything else? This has been great conversation. Thank you for your work, and Ms. Johnson for the calendar work.
Madam Chair, if I can.
Absolutely, Dr. Fleming.
Well, thank you. I realized on the agenda that it does have this as information, but for us to take a vote, you would have to vote on the calendar options before we would take a calendar survey. That doesn't mean you are committing to, and that should have a V on the agenda, but that does not mean you are committing to these two, but it does mean that you would approve these two to go to a survey.
I didn't, Dr. Fleming, can you say more about that? This is Adam, sorry. I'm not following why the board would need to approve it for it to go out in a survey, but I may be missing something.
Well, would the board need to approve the two calendar options in order to take the survey, or can they take the survey without approving the two calendar options?
Yeah, no, I don't think the board needs to approve options to be sent out in a survey. The board would just ultimately approve the final option.
The final. Okay, good. Very good. I just want to make sure we didn't forget something before we did a survey. So that's very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fleming. And when you land on the ABSS webpage, it is at the very top of the landing page. So as soon as you click on that ABSS website, the link is right up at the top of the page.
We'll be sending that out via email and text to our families and staff, but it will also be on social media and on the website for community members to reach.
Thank you so much. All right, at this time, I will welcome Dr. Christy Davis, our student services officer, to the podium for gifts to the district.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Fleming. I have 3 gifts to present to you tonight. First is Southern Alamance High School Athletics Department received $2,500 from Camphor Southern Pine Incorporated. Funds can be used as needed. The second one, Hawfields Middle School received $1,000 from All for Lunch to assist with current lunch debt. E.M. Yoder PTA donated $4,000 to student needs at E.M. Yoder Elementary School. Funds will be used to assist students as needed. That's a total of $7,500 this month.
Yes, Mr. Rogers?
I was going to just ask, could this approval just be in one motion?
If that's the pleasure of the board, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the gifts to our schools.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Thank you, Dr. Parker. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 6-0. Thank you, Dr. Davis. And at this time, I will welcome Dennis Fry, our Executive Director for Technology, for a upgraded network equipment contract.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Fleming. I am here to ask for support for this next year's round of upgraded wireless network equipment that we install in our schools that provides Wi-Fi for our students and staff. The contract vehicle for this is a state master contract. The state supports our E-rate program as they do other PSUs across our state. The district will be provided 20% of the cost. The E-rate program operated through the FCC will fund 80%. There is an additional support cost of approximately $16,265.80 that is ineligible. That provides additional very quick support should our most important network equipment that operates the back end of our network, should that go down or we have problems, that allows us to get immediate response and immediate parts to make sure that that is functioning very quickly. So we ask for the board's support for the purchase of this equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Fry.
Motion for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Fry.
Thank you.
At this time, I will turn the floor over to Dr. Fleming for superintendent comments, and then we'll follow with board comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to call in. I can assure you, you do not want me there. We did have some snowy days last week. We know one of those makeup days will be on February 28th. And this week we should have the information on how we're going to make up the additional day. We did have 4 hours banked up, so that is good. That helps us a little bit. But at this point, we definitely, once we pick our final makeup day, we have no bank days and would have to make up anything as well. This past month, we had the ribbon cutting for E.M. Yoder's Nature Playground. We celebrated Women in Sports Day, celebrated our counselors, Career and Technical Education Month, the kickoff of our Teacher Leadership Academy, Alamance Youth Leadership, and I enjoyed attending the Dare Middle School basketball tournament. One of the most heartwarming events that I attended this past month was the Operation Warm at the Everett Jordan Elementary School, where every student received a warm coat. And for those that attended that, that was a very special time. Several of our schools had unique ways of celebrating the 100th day of school, and I was fortunate to participate in a couple of those. This coming month, we have several arts events with our orchestra and chorus, and if we haven't already, we'll get those dates out to you. Kindergarten registration fair is March 8th at Holly Hill Mall. And our next meeting will be our March 11 work session at 12:30, and we will finalize our budget request before our March 24th March 24th meeting, but also that will be our public hearing. And I went through that quick and did not say as much tonight because I don't know how long my voice will hold out, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Fleming. Any questions for our superintendent? All righty. So board member who wants to jump in first? It's Mr. Engel.
Well, I think I've said enough. No, I just, we've got a lot of sports teams playing all over the state right now, and I congratulate all of them. We've got some special teams in this county, and it's good to see them. And the other thing is, I think y'all might have got an email from Amy Kirby, maybe from Eastern Alamance High School, on the spring mock interviews. I know Mr. Rogers did it last year, and I think you did it, Sandy, and I did. That's a lot of fun. Those kids, you interview them like they're applying for a job, and she's the career development coordinator there at Eastern. That's Coach Kirby's daughter-in-law, and did an outstanding job. But I'm gonna do it again this year, and I know Seneca is, and Sandy is. So if you get a chance, they still need several in the afternoons. Go sign up, and we'll see you there. And that's all I had, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Mr. Wagner?
Yeah, I go. So first off, just thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank you to everybody who made public comments. To Mrs. Myers and her daughter that's back there, it was heartbreaking to hear sitting up here, and to think about with your daughter standing there and everything, but I appreciate you coming out and letting that be known. Thank you for that. I know that was not easy and tough to do, so thank you for that. Also, thank you to all of our speakers, all of those who was recognized tonight. Congratulations to them. Is also, I want to thank Eastern Alamance for having me be a judge for the Big Man on Campus again this year. It's a fun event. It's always an interesting event once you get around to them doing their talent, because hey, it gets really funny with some of the talents that they do, but some of it is amazing stuff. Like one of the guys this year did a balancing act he was balancing on basically almost like a skateboard type of thing, but then he put a cup on his head and he was catching stuff in the cup in his hands, all of that stuff. So it was just great and fun to be out.
Tools were included, I hope.
No, not this year. I make no guarantees for the upcoming years. But another thing too that I wanted to read that I came across on Facebook, and I want to thank former board member Mr. Steve Van Pelt. He posted it, and it was from Mr. Ed Kimbrough and Bernie Hall, and it's basically talking about some of the facts on the North Carolina teachers' pay. Because I feel like if you talk to a lot of people in our community, even statewide, they'll tell you that they feel like our teachers are underpaid. And a lot of folks don't know that the teacher pay scale is based from the state. So the supplement that we're talking about is just trying to add on to that, but then trying to get them more. And what he stated in there is a couple of facts. He said, the NC General Assembly eliminated master's pay for teachers getting a degree after 8/1/2013. In 2014, they eliminated the longevity bonus for teachers, but not for other state employees. If this was just about good fiscal policy, wouldn't they have eliminated the longevity bonus for all state employees, including their members of their staff? In 2021, they eliminated retiree health care benefits for teachers hired after 1/1/2021, and also reworked the salary schedule to eliminate step increases after 15 years. There's only one adjustment for the rest of their career at year 25. With all of the raises awarded in the past 15 years, experienced teachers or teachers with a bachelor's degree makes only $186 more per year now than a 30-year teacher made in 2008. Most other pay grades are similar. Teachers with a master's degree in National Board Certification makes $433 less per year than teachers in that same pay grade in 2008. Even when paid on a master's scale, and these numbers are not adjusted for inflation. Adjusted for inflation, these teachers make more than $27,000 less than 2008. 2022-23 numbers for North Carolina teachers on the highest pay grade were 49th out of the 50 states, and nearly 40,000 below the national average for that group. NC is 27th in the cost of living index, if you're wondering. These numbers and facts came directly from the North Carolina DPI and National Bureau of Labor Statistics. And when I read that, like I said, we know that our teachers are underpaid. And one of the statements that I've said in the past and even talked to other folks about, we have plenty of qualified teachers, but we have plenty of qualified teachers that no longer want to be disrespected in the way that they have been and not treated as the professionals that they are. We're trying to do as much as we can as a local board, but we need for our state to join in this fight with us. And I say that because we need people to continue to advocate for our teachers, for our classified staff, for our bus drivers, for instructional staff, for people in our school system, because the education of our next generation is important. They're going to be the ones sitting in these seats. They're going to be the ones coming up making them public comments. We already have Lilith who comes a lot, but if y'all would have been here at the when AVS came out that night, you would have seen a lot of our amazing students, and there's been other ones who came and stood at that podium and been just amazing leaders right now that's in our schools. So we have to advocate, and everything that we do is for them. And it is always for our kids and keeping them as the main thing. And we just got to do things that make sense. So what is happening, like Dan went in on that calendar, yes, charter schools can do that. Private schools now, through the opportunity scholarships, are getting public dollars. They have the flexibility in their calendars. We just asking for that same flexibility. We're just asking for that same opportunity. We're not asking for anything more than what we deserve for our kids and for our educators. And I just wanted to read that tonight while I made my public comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Dr. Parker?
I'm going to start out with a joke. I don't know if folks have been following the health difficulties Pope Francis has been having, but there's a previous Pope, John the 23rd. He was asked, how many people work in the Vatican? About half, he said, about half. I'd like to thank I'd like to thank Mr. Marsh for his service on the board. There are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes and the time that you put into it, and would like to say we're going to miss him, and I very much appreciate the only other Charles leaving the board. I'm sorry to see him go. I wanted to thank Mr. Fitch for his many years of service to the district. They're part of my day job. I'm an information janitor. It's the kind of thing where if it goes well, no one cares, and then when it doesn't, it's your problem. So I know there's a lot of, as far as related to that. I was able to go to the Yoder Playground opening, and it's fantastic. I know there's a lot of work done by the PTA and really a lot of folks. It looks great, and they have a lot of plans for how to extend it. So that's something to see if you come to Mebane among, I guess, the Buckies once that gets built. That'll be maybe the second thing. And I want to say especially, we get a number of emails as far as busing, and, my kids rode the bus, and I second routes and that kind of thing. And everyone here is very aware of that situation and how much it impacts things. And it's front of mind for the board, and I think we're going to try to see what we can do here to improve things, because it's such an important part of getting to school is kind of the table stakes as far as being able to learn at school. So, and I guess the last thing is, or the next to last thing is, if you go on the district website, the All County Orchestra, Chorus, and Band are doing concerts this month in March. Please go to them. It's a lot of fun. It's not too long. It's not a whole afternoon investment, and you get to see kids who've really worked hard through the year. And then really the last thing is, please go and do the school calendar survey. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Ms. Harvey?
First of all, I just want to say thank you to the community for coming out tonight. Thank you for showing up. Thank you to the speakers who came tonight. It is not easy speaking in front of people. It is not easy telling things that ultimately really hurts on the inside, but to come up and to speak out is amazing. Not only does it help you to get it out, but it also lets us know what's going on within our community, because sometimes if we don't know, we can't fix a problem that we don't know anything about. So thank you so much for bringing those things to our attention. Thank you to the staff that show up every day. Thank you to our children who show up every day. Thank you to administration that shows up every day. It takes all of us working together to make this work. I just want to shout out some couple of things. Thank you to Graham High School for allowing me to come and speak at their AB honor roll celebration. It was amazing. And it's always amazing to see kids that you have watch grow up from small kids on up until, almost adulthood. So it was amazing to be there. I was also at the EM Yoder, nature, basically opening of their playground. It was amazing. Kids were super excited to be in the hammocks, to just, be doing different things outside. That is something that we need to bring back, is allowing our kids to be outside in nature doing things, because that's what all of us done, and it didn't kill us. We're here, okay? So it works. Thank you to those people who push every day to make that happen. I know they have a second phase coming along, and they're accepting donations for that second phase. They have some great things going on. You can get your name on a little stepping stone. It's so many things, and my name is signed on a bench out there, so if you go out there, you're going to see my name. I'm just going to let y'all know. Also, just shout out to Turnton in winning their 8th DARE tournament in basketball. Like, who does that, okay? 8th in a row, so amazing things for them. I'm probably going to sound a little biased, but Cummings went to JDL, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and won the women's indoor track championship. This was number 30 for Coach Davis and Coach Love. So they do amazing things over there. They love their kids, and it shows every time they show up on the track. They always give 100%. And I just want to say to them, whether they're listening or not, I'm sure someone will let them know, it just amazes me, the things that they do. And they're not in the schools every day. They show up, they show up, they love on our kids, and our kids in return give them the best that they can give them. And I appreciate that so much, and I appreciate them so much. People continue to come out, continue to speak on what's happening, continue to just show up for our children, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Mr. Engel, you sure you don't want to say? I don't want to skip over you.
Yeah, I'll say this one.
Okay.
Thing. I just want to, my good friend Chuck, I just wish you well, my friend.
Absolutely.
Godspeed, and pray for your health. And also, I know you're a busy man, but I've enjoyed, all of us on the board have enjoyed working with you. And we just thank you for the work you've done, and just take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely, Mr. Rogers.
Sorry, and I can't believe I missed this, but I think I started getting going so much about pay and everything. Happy Black History Month. I mean, I wore my Black History shirt up here, and I forgot about saying Happy Black History Month. So wanted to just add that in.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. I will just say that, to sit here and listen to our board members talk about the staff members and the students and our athletes and our arts programs and our music programs. There's a lot of really good stuff that's going on in our school system. So don't let those stigmas and those letter grades, they're important, but they don't define those students that walk those halls and those teachers that show up. We've got a lot of really good stuff going on, and Ms. Atkins does a great job with Mr. Schuler in spreading that good news and sharing the good stuff. And, do we have challenges? Absolutely. We all do. But I think that those opportunities and that goodness always outweighs the challenges in our school district. And it's been an honor to work with the 6 of you. That includes Mr. Marsh. We do wish him the best. Being a board member is not for the faint of heart. I think we'll all agree to that. But I do wish him well. I hope that Dr. Fleming and Ms. Johnson are both feeling better very, very soon. Next week is Read Across America Week. You've probably gotten some emails from some of the schools that are doing programs. If you have an opportunity to share 30 minutes, an hour to read in some of the classrooms, please do so. Monday, March 3rd is our Board of Commissioner meetings. It will be 9:30 downtown Graham. Dan and I have an OSC meeting on Thursday morning. One more time on that public meeting for the budget is 6:30 on March the 24th. We'd love to hear 6 o'clock on March the 24th. Thank you. And just congratulations to Ms. Tyson, our beginning teacher. To Ms. Jones, who is our Teacher of the Year that has moved forward. There's a lot of really good stuff, and we cannot forget that. So thank you, board members, for always taking an opportunity to highlight those things in your communities and in your districts, and that you're aware of, because that's the stuff we should be talking about. I believe at this time it goes back to, oh, yes, Mr. Wagner.
I'm used to this kind of stuff. I'm always put last for some reason. No, I want to reiterate what my board members have said. We're very thankful to have our community here, our teachers, our administration, our county leaders here, because it's important for you to be here. It's important for us to listen to you and to understand what your desires and wants are for our community. If you don't speak up, we're not know what to do. Good things are happening in this county, folks. I can promise you that. Leadership is here. You've got a board that's engaged. We've got county leadership that's going to be engaged in moving this community forward. We just ask you for the chance. We ask you for the input, and we're thankful for those folks who have spent so many time in this county. We couldn't do it without you guys. We couldn't do it without leadership here. We couldn't do it without the teachers and the staff and the families of ABSS. Things are improving, folks. I promise you that. Stay engaged. Give us a chance. Show up and voice out. Thank you.
Yes, but now, Mr. Avery, you are in the first seat, so you're technically not last.
I moved here later on in life.
Yes, Ms. Harvey.
I just don't want to leave out that the Hallfields girls won the DARE tournament and that the BMS cheerleaders, they won the cheer thing. So listen, I just don't want to leave anybody out, because I'm sure somebody was going to say, Miss Tamika, you left us out. So shout out to them as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else from the board? This has been fun tonight. Yes, Mr. Engel?
The Hallfield girls are undefeated since I left coaching them. So they,
what are you saying,
Coach Gillis is doing a great job.
I believe at this time, Mr. Engel, the floor goes back to you for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Board, I make a motion that we enter closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 to preserve attorney-client privilege. North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6 to consider confidential personnel information protected under North Carolina General Statute 115C-319 and 115C-321.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We will move into closed session at this time. We are back in open session. At this time, I welcome our Chief Human Resources Officer, Ms. Yolanda Anderson, to the podium for a personnel report.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Fleming. I'm asking that you approve the personnel report as presented tonight in closed session.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 6-0. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. With no further business before the board, is there?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Dr.
Second.
Parker. Thank you, Mr. Engel. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Dropped from the conference. Motion carries unanimously 6-0. Thank
get a
y'all. It's
bigger
been fun
clock, guys.
tonight.